Okay, I think we can go ahead and get started. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us for this community chat for the general plan on the topic of design, arts, and culture. My name is Atul Sharma. I'm a planner with the Montgomery County Planning Department. We will be sharing a brief presentation with you today and working with several of our colleagues. We will try to facilitate a discussion with you. The point of today's meeting is to hear from you about these thoughts and ideas that we are beginning to put together for the general plan. But before I do that, we just want to take a moment and say that we hope everybody's doing okay in these challenging times. The past several months have been overwhelming in many ways. The pandemic, the protests, everyday struggles to make ends meet for people are causing all of us stress, pain, and frustration. And while the general plan is a plan about the future, there are many challenges that we are all facing on a daily basis as we speak. So we just want to acknowledge that and wish everyone peace and good health through these difficult times. And we just want to mention that we even more greatly appreciate your willingness to take time out of your day to speak with us. When we are living through the times we are, every minute is precious as we work and parent and teach all at the same time. And we really appreciate you all taking the time today. I'll now turn it over to my colleague, Maren Hill, to share some logistics about today's meeting. Over to you, Maren.
Thanks, Atul. Hi, everyone. My name is Maren. I am also a planner with Montgomery Planning. And I just wanted to share some of the logistical information as well as some kind of rules of engagement for the event today. I know that Zoom might be a new technology for some of us. So if you have any questions at any time, you can type a question into the chat box. And if you want it to just go, you can see at the bottom of your screen, there's a little button with a chat icon that says chat. You can type it and send it to everyone, or if you want to just send it to Montgomery Planning, it will go to me. You can select that from the drop-down window in the chat box. Today's meeting will be recorded and will be shared on our website, which is www.thrivemontgomery.com. All of the conversations, so all of the chats from the meeting today will be shared with the planning staff who are working on Thrive Montgomery 2050, so that they can incorporate them into the revisions to the plan. Throughout the meeting, we're going to ask people to stay muted. But if you have a question, you can raise your hand, and you do so by clicking on the participants icon, which is at the bottom center of your screen, clicking on that icon and then scrolling down to the bottom, and there's an option to raise your hand. If you have joined us by phone, you can also raise your hand by pressing *9. And then when we call on you, you can unmute yourself by clicking the little microphone button at the bottom, the mute, unmute. Or if you've joined us by phone, you can press *6 to unmute yourself. At any time throughout the chat, you can post questions or comments in the little chat box, and we'll get to them when we get into the discussion period. We might ask if you'd like to read your question out loud, because we really love hearing everyone's voices in the meeting. But if you don't have access to a microphone, that's fine. You can just use the chat. The only thing that we ask is that you're respectful in your comments, and that you do not use any offensive or profane language. Let's see. After the presentation, Atul and others are going to jump into a presentation. We'd really love to have an open discussion. If you are comfortable with turning your camera on, it's great to see who's in the room with us. So one thing we'd like to do to just warm up and introduce ourselves and hear a little bit from you is we're going to go around and say our names, everyone who's here from the planning department, but then we'd also love to open it up to you all and have you say your name and then answer these two questions. What places have you been visiting during the pandemic that maybe you didn't visit before? And what places are you really looking forward to visiting when we reopen? So I'm not throwing anyone under the bus. I will start. As I said, my name is Marin Hill, and one place that I've been visiting a lot during the pandemic is the Great Seneca Trail, which I had never been to before. And I'm really looking forward to the playgrounds opening because I have a 2.5-year-old, specifically at Nolte Park, but all of them. And then I'm going to turn it over to Atul.
Thanks, Marin. Again, my name is Atul Sharma. I am a planner with the Montgomery County Planning Department. I live in the county as well. I live in downtown Silver Spring. One of the places that I've been spending a lot of time on is our street. Ironically, we spent very little time on our street when we were all going to work and the kids were going to school. But now with everybody being home, that has really become the center of a community, which has been a silver lining in the middle of all this. And one of the places I'm really looking forward to visiting is all the museums in DC, which I used to love going to with my kids and my wife, and we haven't gone in months. So I'm looking forward to that.
Awesome. Phil, would you mind sharing with us?
Certainly. Thank you. My name is Philip Estes, and I am a planner with Montgomery County. Most of my work, in fact, maybe all of it, is involved in Area 3, which is the up-county rural areas and sort of far eastern and far western edges. I think the places I've been visiting, I've really been spending extended periods of time in my neighborhood parks, which in some of them I hadn't really spent much time at all other than maybe just to walk through. So that's been nice, and I've been grateful to have parks nearby. Places I'm looking forward to visit, actually friends and relatives out of town. I'm looking forward to the opportunity to be able to get on an airplane again at some point. We all will.
Great. Natasha.
Yes, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Natasha Fahim. I'm an urban designer in Montgomery Planning Department. I live in the district, and I'm having a 5-year-old. I think one of the places that we've been visiting a lot is Rock Creek Park, which is an asset for DC. And like leaving 10 minutes from there was like I've never get the chance to go there, but like now through the pandemic, we are doing that like 2-3 times per week. And the places that I would like to visit, it's after the reopening, is the pool. Hopefully that will open up before the summer ends. So I'm looking forward to that.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Saquon Gatling, and I'm a senior planner with the planning department. And I live right around the Rockville Metro station. So I've been getting familiarized with the trails and parks as it stretches out from the metro station. And it's been a fun experience seeing these in a new light, a new appreciation for having some natural area within our town centers. So I'm looking forward to doing that a lot more in other areas in the county as we get reopened.
Great. And Nick.
Hey everyone, I'm Nick Holdscombe. I'm a planner at the planning department in the research and special projects division. I live near Marin, near Lauren, near Atul in downtown Silver Spring, and it's not a place that I hadn't been to. I've been to it a lot, but Nolte Park has become a place that my wife and I spend a ton of time at, whether we're just like laying out, getting sun, or playing Frisbee, or chasing our amazing niece, who's crazy. That's been a blast. And something that I'm really looking forward to, I echo for sure Atul's comment about museums in the city especially, but also just all the fun little bars and restaurants and shops that local people are running and putting their hearts into. I can't wait to start going to those places much more often.
Mm.
All right, Lauren.
Hi, I'm Lauren Stam. I'm a planner at Montgomery Planning. I've been visiting Sligo Creek a lot since I live in downtown Silver Spring. I've been riding my bike and really enjoying the closure of the street on the weekends, which makes it really awesome to be able to ride right next to people. And I think, just like Natasha, I am dying to go to the pool. So I think that's what I'm looking forward to the most. My favorite in the area is the MLK Junior Pool, which has this lazy river. It's my favorite summer thing to do. So dying for that to reopen.
And Rachel.
Hi, everybody. I'm Rachel Newhouse. I'm a park planner in Montgomery County. I've been a park planner in Montgomery County for over 30 years, so I really know a lot about the parks there. But I live in Alexandria, so I've been spending time in my garden and walking my dog, and my kids are older, so they don't need me to take them to playgrounds anymore. But I'm looking forward to coming back to Montgomery County and seeing all the fun things in Montgomery County and the new parks, and just being back in Montgomery County.
Oops, sorry about that. I was having a little screen problem. My mute button was popping around. So now we'd love to open it up to others to introduce themselves. So I'm gonna call on people. If you don't feel comfortable talking, that's okay. We'll take your silence as not wanting to talk. But I wanted to see if Jane Lyons would introduce herself.
Sure. Hi, everybody. My name is Jane Lyons. I work for the Coalition for Smarter Growth. I have been visiting Rock Creek Park a lot because I too, like a lot of people, live in downtown Silver Spring, and I hadn't really gone there before, so that's been a nice discovery. And I'm looking forward to going back to all of the really great restaurants in Silver Spring. I'd love to just hang out in Quarry House with my friends and not have to worry about the pandemic. Yep, thank you.
Thanks. And we have one person on the phone. It's a 240 number. If you would like to introduce yourself. All right. Carrie McCarthy, would you introduce yourself?
Hi, sorry, I had to get off mute. I'm Carrie McCarthy. I'm the Division Chief for Research and Special Projects at the Planning Department. And this weekend, I biked over to the Bladensburg Waterfront Park in Prince George's County. And I'd forgotten how much I really like that spot along the water, and they have a playground and picnic tables. And yeah, just kind of cool architecture along the river. So yeah, they've done a really nice job over there, and it's kind of off the beaten path.
Great. Hello? All right, let's see, Chuck Hines.
Hello, I'm Chuck Hines, park planner in the Department of Parks. I have been playing a lot of golf with friends from the Baltimore area, visiting courses that I haven't played before. And what am I looking forward to doing when we reopen? Oh gosh, I'd say enjoying our parks and seeing people out and about in all our parks, not just on our trails.
Awesome. And I'm going to go to Bossy to introduce. All right, let's see. Jim E.
Yeah, Jim already mentioned that he's at work, so he cannot talk.
Okay, great, thank you. And then Kay. Kay Wynn.
Hi, yes, hi. I'm in Kingwin. I'm a new real estate agent at the Rockville for Coldwell Banker. So as part of the learning process, I figure I should, attend these meetings and learning about the Montgomery County future plan, as well as I'm being a Montgomery County resident. The past 2 years I've been living downtown DC, and right now everything locked down. So yeah, even the museum is not open. So I'm looking forward to coming back to Montgomery County, especially Montgomery Village. I love the locations and everything, and it's so convenient to everything, but I think it really needs a lot of touching and redevelopment or something like that. So thanks.
Thank you. And then Margaret Rifkin. All right, let's see. And then Nancy.
Good afternoon. I'm an
Hello.
old Rachel. You and I go way back. I live up in Damascus, and I had missed the earlier sections of this, and I was intrigued to see what you all were doing.
Oh, good. So good to have you with us, Nancy.
Well, I have an interesting perspective since I'm older than most of you all put together, but
Excellent.
and we have a wonderful situation up here beside Little Bennett. We have Seneca Creek State Park. And Rachel, you may remember our favorite here is the Damascus, the Magruder Branch Hiker Biker Trail.
Oh, yeah.
And everybody has been out up here. People you never saw out before are out. But I have no idea how long this is going to go on. So I'm very grateful for Montgomery's efforts to provide us with outdoor spaces that we can use. Thank you.
And last but not least, Sebastian.
Hey everyone, I'm Sebastian. I live in Cloverly or near Burtonsville, and I have a 5-year-old and a 3-year-old, and we've been going to all sorts of parks, exploring places we've never been to before. Two of them that I really want to call out are the Rocky Gorge Reservoir. I know it's not an M-NCPPC park, but it's on the south. It's near the Patuxent River, and it's really beautiful. And the Woodlawn Cultural Manor. I took my daughters on a Underground Railroad experience, and they were really into it. And so it was fun to be able to, give them some kind of school education thing while schools are closed. So what do I miss? I think a lot of people mentioned things that I've been thinking of, like pools, museums, restaurants. But for me, I think it's really the playgrounds. I really miss being able to take my kids to the playgrounds and just like sit and relax while they play with other kids. I'm looking forward to my children being able to play with their neighborhood friends.
I definitely feel you on that one, Sebastian. So I actually missed two people. We have Khalid Afzal and then Tanya Stern. If you could introduce yourself first, Khalid, then Tanya.
Hi, everybody. Sorry, Maren, I was fumbling with the mute thing when you called before. Hi, everybody. I'm Khalid Afzal. I'm co-leading this project with Carrie McCarthy. Of course, when I heard all of you talk about parks and going out, I've been making use of the Sligo Creek Park, which is near me. It's great to just, after sitting at home all day and working or doing other things in the evening, just go and relax and walk and get some fresh air. It's been a blessing. And I'm looking forward to just doing a lot of things that people mentioned. But one thing I'm missing is that I try to do yoga as much as I can. Doing it at home is not as much fun as doing it with a group. So I really miss that. So I'm looking forward to doing that at the Y when it opens up, along with visiting restaurants and going outside and doing things that we want to do outdoors. Thank you, Marin.
And Tanya?
Hi, I'm Tanya Stern, Deputy Planning Director at the Montgomery County Planning Department. I have been spending a lot of time taking walks after work and on the weekends. So I've gotten to know there's a segment of a trail that's very close to my house that I have been visiting quite a bit. There's another trail segment that I didn't know was close to my house that I've also discovered. So that's been a lot of fun. And I am definitely looking forward to going back to performing arts venues as we reopen once it becomes safer to be in those larger spaces. There are several shows that I have had tickets for over the spring that got canceled, whether concerts and other performances. So I've definitely been missing that quite a bit.
Thank you everyone for sharing. It's really great to hear a little bit about who's on the call, and we're also going to be talking about the places we love today and kind of what makes them up. So this is a nice starting point to hear about where people are going now and what they've been missing. And with that, I will turn it back over to Atul for a brief presentation. And I think of several others who you've met along the way will also be jumping in. Thanks.
Thank you, Marin. Thank you everyone for sharing your sort of background and a little bit about what you enjoy doing in the county and around the region. To get us started, some of you might be asking, what is Thrive Montgomery 2050? The Thrive Montgomery 2050 effort is an update to what we call the county's general plan, which was last comprehensively updated in 1969. So it's been 50 years. It's about time we do a more comprehensive update. We have done small changes to it over the years, but nothing as ambitious as what we are trying to do now. A general plan really is a very high-level document. It establishes direction for policy and growth for the future of the county. And many of the things that you all mentioned in your introductions, the parks, the schools, the neighborhoods, a lot of them have been shaped to this date by the plan that was originally conceived in the 60s. So even though it's a very high level document, it has tremendous impact on the future of the county over the period of many, many decades. This general plan has three basic pillars that it is trying to build the vision on top of. We have the idea of economic health, environmental resilience, and community equity, which are the foundation of this plan. And then to sort of organize the information in the plan, we've identified these 8 topics that you see in the blue rectangles, and I'll read them out for the people who are on phone. We have this idea of complete communities, connectedness, diverse economies, safe and efficient travel, affordability and attainability, health and sustainable environment, diverse and adaptable growth, and then design, arts, and culture. Our group has been mostly focused on thinking about the vision and ideas for design, arts, and culture, and which is what we will be covering and sharing with you all today and getting your feedback. This is really the first step in us creating some policies, goals, policies, and actions for this plan. We have been talking to various members of the community over the past 9 months. We've had in-person meetings when we were able to do those. We had community meetings. We met residents in their neighborhoods. We talked to kids in different ages of school. And now we have taken all that information, and this is really our first cut at what we think the vision should be so that it responds to what we have heard. But it is the starting point. And we will be working with, hoping to have many conversations like these over the summer and early fall, and creating a more refined version of the document, a link to which can be found in the chat, and then taking it to our planning board. When we take it to our planning board, they'll take about 6 months to deliberate on what we propose, hear from the public again, and finally they'll transmit it to County Council, And when that happens, the whole process gets revisited again, where people have another chance to share their thoughts and opinions before council approves it finally. So what is the vision of this plan? The vision for this plan is one where Montgomery County in 2050 is a very vibrant and welcoming place where all people thrive with equitable access to attainable housing, healthy food, physical recreation opportunities, jobs, education, services, and are able to get by from one part of the county to the other using a mode of their choice. So not just driving, but taking the bus or the train or walking and biking as well. Physically, what this means is that we are really trying to create neighborhoods throughout the county where one can live and do most of the things they need to do on a daily basis within a 15-minute walk, bike ride, or a short transit ride or a drive. This will require that the corridors in the county, which are our major streets, are really reimagined from car-centric corridors to places that are safe for walking, biking, and taking transit. And so going back to our chapter, that's kind of the foundation over which we have tried to think about ideas related to design, arts, and culture. And we have about 6 goals that we will share with you today, what these goals are, and get your feedback on that. But to do that, we had to identify some reasons why we thought it was important to do this, to look at design, arts, and culture in a new light. And so 4 things we would like to highlight are listed on the slide. I'll try to talk briefly about them. First is we are running out of land to keep building like we used to. The county was built in the second half of the last century. A lot of it was built to accommodate population that was working in DC. And so a lot of the single family neighborhoods were built the way they are. The county is continuing to grow because people enjoy living here and working here. And we are expected to have almost 200,000 new residents over the next 30 years. But while we had a lot of land in the past to build new housing on, we don't have that anymore. So we really have to revisit how we build and design. We are also no longer a suburb of Washington, DC. We have places like Bethesda and Silver Spring and White Oak, where Germantown, Gaithersburg, where you have a lot of office workers in addition, and shops in addition to just housing. So we really are moving into this new era for the county where we want to create, fully functioning towns, cities, and villages throughout the county. The county is also much more diverse today. Just looking at the speakers on this call, you can see there's a lot of very diverse populations that live in the county. And while we, I think generally as a county embrace our diversity is not equally reflected in the arts and cultural institutions in the county. So how we think that's a very important thing that we need to revisit and try to enhance and improve. And the last thing we would say is that we are absolutely going to face more disruptions in the future, whether they are through climate change, changes in technology, or events like the current pandemic. So how we design really needs to take that into factor so that we are not left vulnerable to these disruptions, and especially the most vulnerable communities within our communities. Populations within our communities should not be left to fend for themselves through these increasing and more severe disruptions. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Natasha. She's going to talk about our first goal. As we talk about these goals, if you have any questions you want to type in the chat, please feel free to do that. We will get back. We'll get to these towards the end of this meeting and want to leave a lot of time for that discussion. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Natasha.
Yeah, thank you, Atul. Our first goal, which is goal 8.1, is to create the world-class towns, cities, villages within neighborhoods that celebrate their history, geographic, and culture. So our vision is to enhance the character of our places, no matter if they are in cities, towns, villages, in any scales. As you see on the slide, the scales of different neighborhoods varies from cities, towns, and villages. So we have places like Tacoma Park, Bethesda, that they have unique characters and styles. But unfortunately, so many other neighborhoods and communities in our county are still very car oriented. They don't have a sense of place and a unique character. And those are places that we see in our suburb cookie cutter subdivisions. And we are hoping that through this goal, we can make sure that all of those places have something unique that the community can be have a pride on it. And how we are achieving this goal is through emphasizing on the design of our community and not through the lens of land use. So instead of like emphasizing on separating residential and commercial and industrial, we have to think about how the design can impact those communities and enhancing those communities. Another way to achieving it is to make sure that our civic buildings, like places like our schools and libraries, post office, these are places that they should have like an excellent and innovative design. That's something that the communities can be have a pride on it and be unique for that particular community. It's not something that it can be anywhere through our communities or other states. And I think something that we can make sure to achieve that is through like having a design competition and having the resident be involved to make sure that they can celebrate like what we are, the civic building should be a place that community can celebrate their culture and their history and their neighborhood.
So Natasha, let me ask you a follow-up question to that. You're describing a vision where we have these great town, cities, and villages. Will this lead to a change in the character of communities that exist today in the county?
If those places have already have like a unique places, as I mentioned before, like Bethesda, Tacoma, no, we want to make sure that we preserve that and have that going forward for the next generation. But our vision is to enhance the character and bringing the missing elements that has been missed in some of other communities. Like that's something that we would like to see it in our cities, towns, villages, in any scale, and make sure that all of our communities act as a complete communities, that the resident in all ages, any sort of like social, economical background can get to their needs within 15 minutes walk. And that's something that we'll also discuss in our complete community sections.
Yep, and I think, you know, the examples you mentioned, Bethesda and Tacoma Park are both down county areas, but the same can be said for Montgomery Village or Burtonsville or White Oak or Kentlands or any of these places that definitely have rich sort of a mix of people and very rich history and culture, but maybe the physical design of some of these places is not celebrating and enhancing those stories as much as they should be.
Yeah, correct.
So thank you for that. I'm going to ask Phil to talk about this next goal. Phil,
Maybe
you might be muted.
So sorry about that. Distinctive, authentic, and inspiring places are critical to the well-being of all of Montgomery residents. So this goal here deals, helps to ensure that spaces, buildings, and infrastructure in our cities and neighborhoods are inspiring places to be, and also that our communities embody high quality design and beauty that we all deserve. So with this goal, we want to ensure that great architecture and urban design continue to be at the forefront in Montgomery County. You could go to the next slide. So how do we achieve this goal? So listed here are some policies that we can use to advance good design and architecture. And by promoting such policies, there are many positive outcomes that we can think of. We can better our parks, improve mobility challenges for seniors, for example, improve public gathering spaces and create safer, a more flexible transportation system. All of this can in part be achieved through better urban design and thereby continuing Montgomery County as a great place to live.
Thanks,
And
Phil.
you can go to the next slide.
Sure. Phil, we want to get to the end here, but very quickly, if you could talk to a little bit about why good design kind of matters. And I think once we have that conversation for the following presenters, I think we would like to get through the presentation quickly so we can hear from everybody else who's on the call as well.
Sure. So good urban design matters because when you go outside, you look around you, every object, place, and many of our experiences are designed by someone. So good urban design can have many positive benefits. With working in the public sector, we always have limited public resources. So it can add economic value, and thinking something through, getting it right the first time around makes a lot of sense and makes a lot of economic sense. It can also help us create well-connected, inclusive, and memorable places. And we can also use good urban design and architecture to help solve problems with respect to civic identity, neighborhood connections, safer streets and sidewalks, again, better transportation systems, and even safety concerns can all be advanced through better urban design.
Great, thank you for that, Phil. Saquon, would you like to talk about the next goal?
Sure, Atul. So goal 8.3 is to use design as a tool to combat climate change. And climate change will have far-reaching effects on life within the county. So with this goal, our objective is to ensure that in the face of these changes, we can grow and adapt while minimizing the negative impacts we might face in the future. And some ways we're aiming to do this, as you'll see on the next slide, are concentrating development near metro centers, using design to reduce reliance on cars. And these first two policies will help reduce emissions and reliance on fossil fuels. And while the third policy here, we aim to continue implementing green design technology, which will help address issues such as stormwater management and energy production, so that we can ensure the safety and sustainability of life in the county as we face challenges going into the future.
Thank you, Saquon. Appreciate those thoughts. I'm going to come back to Phil to talk about the next goal.
Sure. This goal is intended to support resilient and highly adaptable buildings and infrastructure. And it's intended to support preservation, conservation, and reuse of buildings and facilities rather than the demolition or replacement of those buildings. We also look at this as recycling and conservation of buildings in a more sustainable way. And by doing so, we can help minimize the use of valuable new resources, reduce waste pollution, and carbon emissions. And here are some of the policies we can consider. Can encourage that new buildings are designed in such a way that they can be easily converted to new uses. We can also promote flexible design and adaptive reuse in building trade school curriculums.
Thank you, Phil. This next goal that talks about public art, we'd like to request Nick to talk about that.
Thanks, Atul. So this goal speaks to our county's diversity and ideas of art, cultural spaces, parks, and entertainment as more than just things to see, hear, and do. We see these things, art especially, for this goal, as a connective bridge that should be available to all people from all walks of life and in all parts of the county. This slide mentions some of the ways to achieve that goal. We should celebrate the county's arts, cultural institutions, and sports and entertainment related businesses as part of the county's identity and economy. We should increase economic value of parks and public spaces through programming and placemaking. We should create affordable space for artists and cultural uses. We should make sure that the county's design heritage, arts, and institutions are inclusive and representative of its cultural diversity. And finally, we should make sure that every resident in the county can experience art and culture daily.
Thanks, Nick.
Thanks.
And we are getting to our last goal here, and then want to open it up for discussion. Natasha, would you like to cover this one?
Yes, sure. Thank you, Atul. So our last but not least goal is to ensure all communities benefit equitably from the good design. As Atul mentioned at the beginning of our presentation, community equity is one of the 3 pillars for our general plan. And when it comes to art and design, we do believe that all the communities should benefit from the good design regardless of their location and their demographic. As you see on the photos that Atul was sharing on a previous slide, a very well designed park and open space can be a nice gathering place for residents of the community from all ages, no matter from different social economical background. And this is the way that we can make the community stronger, and that's how we can help our county thrives in years to come. And the way that we can achieve these goals is through educating our youth as well as like our residents to have the positive, to kind of understanding how the good design can have a positive impact in their daily lives. And that awareness is something that we are trying to achieve through this goal. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you, Natasha. I think we are at the end of our presentation, and would really like to hear from you all about your questions and comments you might have. So I'm going to stop sharing the slides and turn it back to Maren to maybe facilitate a discussion.
Yeah, so we have a question from Jane Lyons, and I'm going to invite Jane, if you want Jane to read your question out loud. I think it's important. It talks about the tension between affordability and design. Jane, are you still on?
Yes, I am. Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
So what caught my eye in one of the slides was saying that we should make design a priority over saving costs. And of course, higher costs result in higher housing prices. So when we're prioritizing these different aspects, is design more important than affordability in some cases? And I also don't see why we have to choose one over the other. Can we have both good design and affordable housing? Thank you.
Phil, would you like to talk to that?
I'm sorry. Can I toss that to you for a second?
Sure, sure.
I'm
I'm happy to address it. Jane, I think you bring up a good point, and I think from the perspective of the plan, what we are really trying to do is balance that need of affordability, but also making sure that the people who are being provided these more affordable, attainable options are able to experience that same level of quality of life as everybody else. Equity has really come to the forefront in ways that are so powerful in the past few weeks and months. But we think it's not a choice of affordability and design. I think it is, but we do want to make sure that we are not shortchanging the benefits that you might get from design as compared to if you were having a fully market rate, let's say, housing unit versus an affordable housing unit. Like both those users, those residents should be able to reap the benefits equally of the location of their housing, the access to amenities around their housing, and the idea of feeling like they belong to that same community. So definitely, I think there's a balancing act there, and affordability is a huge issue for our county on many fronts. It definitely impacts the arts and culture section a lot because there's a very small amount of affordable space available for artists, for example. But we do think that design can be a way to sort of balance those things as opposed to trying to make a choice between affordability and the benefits of good design.
Thank you.
Sure.
Thanks. And we have a question from Sebastian that I think would go to Natasha. So Sebastian, would you mind just sharing your questions and comments?
Yes, thank you. So it's kind of an open-ended question, but I'm looking at the goal and then the actions of the goal for the benefit or the equity. And I think kind of one thing that I observed through my limited number of years participating in local, I guess, in Montgomery County local issues is that there's really one of the things that really hampers a lot of potential good programs is a lot of negative pushback and opposition from people that prefer the status quo. And those people are the ones with the most free time. And I know you all know this, right? The most free time, the most resources, they're able to attend the public hearings. They're able to go to the planning board meetings on a Thursday during a work day. You know, and they're subscribed to the updates and they know what's going on. And so they know how to challenge things that they don't like. And I'm just wondering how much the Thrive is really looking at making sure it's not just the loudest, most privileged residents of Montgomery County that are participating in the process, but really finding a way to not only take into account the impacts and preferences of, I guess, marginalized communities or hard to reach communities, not only try to take into account what they might want, what we assume they want, you know, better transit and so forth, but really making a stronger effort to connect with them and reach out to them, not just through the way the process works, but also really, is there a way to reach out to them in the way that that the built environment is designed? You know, every community has their gathering points. Maybe those gathering points, like I am near the Briggs Cheney neighborhood. There's the Briggs Cheney Shopping Center. There is no community place for people to kind of go to and mingle. And I just wonder if there's a way to, aside from the process things, which I know that everyone's keeping in mind, is there a way for the built environment, the way it's designed, to really engage people in being more active participants in these kinds of discussions? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Sebastian. That's a great point. I think this is like a daily challenges that we have to how to get community engaged. And I know like Thursday afternoon, not everybody can come to the planning board. So those are kind of like the challenges that we are facing on a daily basis, but on the higher level through our Thrive Montgomery and what we are trying to achieve in 20, 30 years from now. I think we have to start from our youth and creating kind of like a design literacy campaign to educate the youth that how like a well-designed neighborhood can affect your daily life. And by focusing on that, then like when these young kids are getting to their older, like in their 20s and 30s, and that's the time that like we are thinking about, and that's the time that they know how much they can be have an input on their communities, and they be more like active, and hopefully by then there are so many variety of having the community input. So I think one of the main goal of that is like educating the youth. And it's very funny the way that you're pointing like some informal places that people gathered in some potential neighborhood, and that's something that we studied through our this working group, that we went to places like a major intersection that they don't have the plaza, or they don't have like that open nice green spaces, and we see how community gathered and like they have their like a daily talk or like the stuff about their neighborhood, and make sure that like we are emphasizing on like that equity throughout our neighborhood. So I think educational is key, and there are so many other aspects, but as you said, this is like an open discussion, and we have to make sure that we carry through our neighborhood and communities, make sure that all the planning effort shouldn't be influenced by the influential people, and kind of like weighed on everybody's, even people that they don't have a voice, those voices have to be heard.
Thanks, Natasha. And Sebastian, I would just follow up on that, I think thinking about the process and how it can intertwine with the built environment is really important. And I think that one thing that we're looking at in Thrive as well is how do we revise and enhance and improve our process. And part of that is meeting people in the spaces that they feel comfortable in, whether it's parks or meeting, like schools, whether it is outside or indoors, and that can go to time of day as well as, as location. And I think one thing that we've all definitely learned from the pandemic is that, there can be a democratizing aspect to being able to join through a computer or through the phone. And we've seen that a lot with the planning board as well, that people are able to take part who couldn't come down on a Thursday afternoon, but maybe can sneak away for a half hour to talk. So I think continuing to think about these things and incorporating them into Thrive, and also incorporating them into our future work plans, is going to be an important legacy of this plan in terms of community engagement and really supporting a more robust and diverse engagement process. So we are running up on time, but I wanted to share another question that came from Jim. And Jim asks, how specifically are you planning for new technologies in transportation and culture, especially buildings and cultural sites? So I wanted to throw that over to Atul and then Nick to answer about transportation and cultural sites and technology.
Thanks, Maren. I can talk about the transportation side, and maybe Nick can talk about cultural sites. I think in terms of transportation, the biggest sort of shift we are trying to affect through this plan is that we have to stop planning solely for cars. This is not a war on cars, but this is definitely a reprioritization in which people are given the option to travel the way they want to travel. Right now, if you live in many parts of the county, you really do not have an option other than driving to do basic things in your daily life. And the idea of technology, I think the line of thinking that we are taking is that there's always going to be technological change in transportation, and we have to be flexible for that. But the more options we can create, the more resilient our transportation infrastructure will become, because there will be options and we will not be solely relying on one mode of transport. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Nick to answer the rest of your question.
Yeah, I would just add what Atul said is exactly be my answer, which is the idea of flexibility. So I think this is a great question, and something that I think that we've tried to be very thoughtful about, and really kind of thorough to, how do we move forward without hamstringing ourselves? We see, in graduate school, learning to be a planner, the first day of my first class was planners today fix the problems of past planners. And how do we get out of that cycle? How do we, because we spend an awful lot of time doing that right now, trying to come up with, road diets and all these kinds of things to speak to really severe limitations that we created for ourselves by, making these gigantic roads, these single family zoned places, these Euclidean zoned concepts. So I think one way that we can look at technology and buildings and cultural sites is through design and through programming, and trying to create things in the smartest, most flexible, and adaptable manner. Thanks, Jim.
Great. Well, these always go really quickly. So we've reached our the end of this chat, and I just wanted to let everyone know about some opportunities going forward to stay involved. And I also wanted to bring everyone's attention to the chat. Lauren Stam has dropped some links. One is to the missing middle housing study. And another is to our website. So just for additional resources, check out the links that have been posted in the chat. So we've seen this project timeline once before already. This is where we are. We've presented the draft policies and actions to the planning board. And the next step is going to be going back to the planning board in September to present draft of the entire working draft of the plan. And this will be another opportunity for people to send in comments and questions. And during this time throughout July, we'd still love to hear from you if you have additional questions and comments. And like I said, the chats and the responses and the ideas that were shared here today will be shared with planning staff who are working on this plan. So in September, staff will be going back to the planning board, and then we will have a review until early spring of next year. And then after that, the council will look at the version of the plan that is adopted by, or accepted by the planning board. It will be sent to council for a final review. As I mentioned, we'd love to hear your ideas, continue hearing your ideas. You can visit the website, which is www.thrivemontgomery.com. You can also send comments to thrive2050@montgomeryplanning.org. And then also you can send messages or, just call us out on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram with your ideas. If you want us to see an idea from somewhere else or with different questions or discussions that are already happening on social media. We only have one more chat in this series. This was our 9th, tomorrow is our 10th. We'll be talking about diverse and adaptable growth, and it'll be led by Jessica McBerry. This will talk a lot more about how and where we're growing in the county and expect to grow, and also talking about the Ag Reserve as well. So I encourage everyone to join us tomorrow as well if you have time. We know that we're all strapped for time, so if you have any questions about that, then you can just send the questions along to thrive2050@montgomeryplanning.org. And this meeting, or recording of this meeting, will be posted to our website. And on that website, you can find the links to the goals, policies, and actions. And when we post the working draft, which will be in September, that will be posted to that website as well. So thank you all for joining us and for your questions and ideas. And we look forward to hearing more. Please stay in touch. Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone. We really appreciate your time. And if you have any follow-up questions, you can email me or Maren or Lauren or at the emails that were shared on the slide as well. So thank you.